Welcome back to Let's Talk Orthodoxy. Today I am joined with John, and as it's Lent, we thought it would be a really good time to discuss Christ and Moses and the people of Israel and the church and the journey that we experience in Lent and how this mirrors the life of Moses and the people of Israel and the journey that we have with Christ. So let's get into it. Ready?
Let's go.
Right. Okay, so what be really good to sort of talk about Christ and Moses and how their lives, mirror each other. So let's start with the birth of Moses and the birth of Christ, and how do they mirror each other?
Yeah, okay. So I think the like first the when we're saying mirroring, it'd be good to give them like why the mirroring is important
Yeah,
as well as it's not like Moses is not Christ
yeah,
coming beforehand or anything, but he is uh, he's he's a symbol, he's a prophetic life. Like
yeah,
Moses is a prophetic life pointing to Christ. And so when we're pulling similarities, what we're like showing is Christ in the Old Testament is
yeah,
like God's plan is always eternal. He knows that He's sending His Son, and then throughout the Old Testament there are sayings and prophecies, but there are also these prophetic characters
yeah,
that embody the work of Christ. And Moses, I think, is
yeah,
a big one. So it's studying those similarities,
yeah,
kind of show us the intention of God um, in the incarnation, but way like thousands of
yeah,
years before.
yeah. Well, because I mean, you see with Moses, he is a Messiah to the
Yes,
people of Israel. He does take
yes,
them out of Egypt, and and every part of that journey, like we see also in Christ what he does for us and for
yes,
the church. So Christ is the new Messiah.
yep,
And even Moses prophesies that God will send someone like me, and
yep,
that is Christ. So
yeah.
absolutely. So can we talk about the birth of each of them and how they're actually quite similar?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I come to my mind around the similarities between them, and obviously Moses is a Jewish person. His identity is Jewish. His family is Jewish. He comes from a line and a history of Jewish people, and Christ also is Jew. He's
Yeah.
born inside the Jewish tradition, inside a Jewish genealogy, inside a Jewish identity, with all of that as well. So you got these these two Jewish leaders
Yes.
born in this identity, but it seems like that wasn't all that they seemed to be, or that God had intended them to be more than um, just Jewish leaders. And so from the beginning, you have Moses, being taken and set apart and given to the,
Yeah.
the prince and the palace and becoming a
Yeah.
prince of Egypt. It's like he is going to start and his identity will be Jewish and he's there to fulfill the work of God, but he gets placed in a place that is outside. It's like your job is more important than just the Jewish people. There is an element to the Gentiles as well. And so
Yeah.
you got Christ as well. He comes as a Jewish man, as a Jewish leader, in the Jewish identity, but his purpose is way bigger and he is sent to the Gentiles. And even throughout the
Yeah.
Old Testament, you see this idea is that God sends his prophets. They talk to the Jews, but they seem to indicate there is something for the others, the
Yeah.
Gentiles, the world. God is the savior of the world, not designated to the
Yeah.
Jews. So I think that's one element. But the second is, for me, the idea that Moses is um, is kind of born simple, born poor. His mother was a keeper, like a keeper of a king's court or whatever, um, and he is made a prince. Like, he's
Yeah.
got this. Whereas Christ is the prince,
Mm.
but when he's born, he makes himself the servant.
Yeah.
And so you got this parallel. And even
Yeah.
later, Moses, we'll talk about it. Moses leaves that palace, but Christ is king. And like St. Gregory of the theologian says, he doesn't think that that's beyond him to be
Mm.
the king, because he is the king.
Yeah.
But he empties himself and is born um, simple,
Mm-hmm.
poor, in a manger,
Yeah.
broken. Why? Because he is lifting the lowest of us up. So I think that's the second thing um, in the birth, and also the third is, it's really interesting that when Christ comes, he chooses to be incarnate as a baby.
Mm.
I don't know, if he's God, he could have just come as an old man or a 30-year-old,
Any
and
point at
yeah, like he
time.
doesn't
Yeah.
actually have
Yeah.
to come as a baby, but he comes as a baby and actually takes on this vulnerability of the baby. Like a
Mm-hmm.
baby needs to be cared for, he needs to be protected, he needs to be nursed, he needs to be fed. He, like the king of the world that sustains the world, decides to come and be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of Moses in the basket, when it's kind of his mum puts him in a basket in the water, and at that moment this child is vulnerable. Anything can happen. There
Yeah.
is and it kind of tells me a little bit about like Christ. Why does Christ come as a child? Because in our life Christ is born like in our heart,
Yeah.
but that baby child Jesus that gets born in our heart needs protecting. It's vulnerable, like the parable of the seeds or the sower. um, we need to give it attention, we need to mature it, we need to protect it. um, your spiritual life is a valuable
Mm.
thing, but it's vulnerable at the start, and you need to protect it. You need to work towards making sure that it grows and it's not taken away, and it's not. And so I think that Christ's, and you know Moses as well, is found inside the basket by
Mm-hmm.
the princess or whatever, and he's taken and matured, and he
Yeah.
says educated him, and he helped him grow. And so the spiritual life, even though it always comes in our heart like a child that's vulnerable and needs us
Plant,
to
like water it
to
so that
water it and
springing up of the
protect it and
kingdom.
let it
Yeah.
grow, and don't let anything get in the
Mm-hmm.
way of it, because it can be taken
Yeah.
away from our heart.
Yeah. Um, just adding to that in Moses being in the basket, so you can see like even the context of the story of Christ and Moses. You see that there's in Moses' situation, there's a Pharaoh who wants to kill the firstborn of
Yeah.
the Hebrew babies because they appear to be a threat to him.
Yep.
And then with Christ, you also see there's the Herod wants to kill all the babies under two because he's heard that there's a new king who's going to threaten him
Yeah.
as well. And so in both situations, there's a flight from evil.
Yep.
And, obviously Moses is passed over a body of water. And also that we also can look back and see like that also happens with Noah as well, where you've got the death of all the males, all the people, and then Noah passes over water in an ark, and that saves him. You see it with Moses. There's the death of the babies, and then he's passed over the Nile to protect him.
Yep.
And then Christ as well. You see there's the death of the babies, and he does pass. And in Coptic tradition, it does say he did pass over a body of water, the Nile as well. But
And it's
this,
interesting that it happens
yeah,
in Egypt. Like if you
that's right,
imagine,
in
like
Egypt.
Christ leaves um, the promised land and goes to Egypt. He goes into
Yeah.
the place
Whereas
that
in the story of the people of Israel, it's the opposite.
it's
You've
the
got them,
opposite
they're in
way.
exile in Egypt, and the whole aim is for them to get out to
Yeah.
the promised land.
And Moses, it's really interesting because Pharaoh is the symbol of evil in the
Yes.
story, but it's like Moses has to go into this place. It's the same with Christ. It's like Egypt is the
Yes.
symbol, but Christ goes out of the promised land into Egypt. So you got
Yeah.
Moses, both of them, to save, to save his people.
Yes.
He has to enter into this
That's right.
place,
Yeah.
and both Moses and Christ leave the, their identity, their people, the promised land, and enter into a foreign land.
Yes.
Um, and that's a sign that the Messiah, when he comes to save us, he doesn't save us from outside. He's
Yes.
going to enter into the place that we
Yes.
are in.
Exactly. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, so Moses grows up in Pharaoh's house, but there's something we can see, through the stories, that something in him where he knows his true identity is not there. Yeah. So the fact that he sees, even though he's grown up in the house of Pharaoh, he sees the Egyptian man, um, you know, harassing the Israelite man, and then he goes and kills him, and then he buries him. So that says something about he knows what's right. He knows who he truly is, and if Egypt symbolizes sin, that relates a lot to our own lives, yeah, where we, even though we live in a place of sin, or even though we might be living in sin, it's not our true identity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really it's a wonderful thing to contemplate on, to think about, because I think about it all the time. It's when Christ comes to save the world, why does he choose to leave us in it? Because it doesn't make, like, if you think about it, it's like, all right, you came, you died, you saved us, you regained us from death, all of these things, just finish it there. Like, let's go and we're
Just
okay,
take us. Yeah.
and everything is done. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
why
Yeah.
the and so there must be something valuable
Yeah.
in leaving us here. Like, there's something important for us to be made, told that we are not of this world, but I'm going to leave you in this world. There is something regenerative. There's something healing about it. There's something in the friction and in the difficulty of life, where I'm trying to be the servant of Christ. I'm trying
Yeah.
to be a godly person, and I'm in an environment that's just, doesn't it's not suited for me. And there is something about this grind of righteousness against the sinfulness that is useful for our salvation. Christ leaves us because he thinks it's useful. And so you have this idea in the story of Moses as well. He's an Israelite, he's a Jew. He's learned in the Torah, most likely, or back then there's no Torah, but in the oral tradition of the Torah, because his mum still stayed with him, like she was his carer. But the whole palace, the idea, the Pharaoh, that environment is not his, and he knows
Yes.
that it's not his. But there's something about this this thing that's going on in
Yeah.
Moses's life, this struggle between who he is, how does he live righteous, and how does he deal with being in the palace, that makes him Moses. You know what I mean? Like, it makes him the leader. It makes him understand. It makes him react in a certain way, feel in a certain way. The fact that he can go back to Pharaoh and Pharaoh recognizes him and knows, and all of these things is happening because of this pressure that's happening inside
Definitely.
the palace.
And going back to what you're saying about, like, why does God leave us? Why doesn't he just take us? I mean, you could say, and we'll get to it later, but the people of Israel, he saves them, he rescues them, they go through the water. Why do they have to wander for 40 years in the
Yeah,
desert? Like, there's something
it seems
there.
purposeless.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's necessary.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's why in our church and the way we understand salvation, it's like we are constantly being saved. Our salvation is dynamic and
Yes.
it's moving, it's constant. We don't say, oh, we've been saved and the work's done, and we've got this constant thing because we think that journey,
Yes.
our life is actually a process of salvation. Otherwise it would be purposeless and meaningless, and we would fall into like despair, because it's like, well, I'm just waiting here for 80 years, 100 years till something else.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Yeah. So, Moses, he sees. So again, after he buries the Egyptian, the next day he sees two Israelites fighting, and he goes and he tries to sort of diffuse the situation. And they say to him, "Are you going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian?" And he's like, "Uh oh." He's been caught. And so even though in this moment we see that his intentions are good and he's trying to do something good for the people of Israel, they still don't see him as that leader, you know? And so there's this book, which a lot of what we're going to talk about today is derived from, and we'll also put the link there for anyone who's really interested in this. Gregory of Nyssa, The Life of Moses, and he talks about obviously the life of Moses, and he says that at this point, something really relevant to us is that with Moses, he hasn't yet ascended the mount. He hasn't encountered God yet. So even though he's destined to be a leader, he's not ready yet. So the people don't see him as that leader. And in our own lives, we can see it is when we're trying to grasp for something, we're trying to get a position for ourselves, or we're trying to make ourselves be seen in a certain way, but we're not ready. We haven't encountered God. It's not a genuine thing. It's like I'm trying to, like Eve trying to reach from the tree before God gives her the allowance to reach from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. She takes it for herself, and then it's detrimental to her and to her life. I mean, what are your thoughts on
Yeah, and I
that?
think it's very interesting because sometimes we get caught up in our own ambition, our own drive. What we have decided is good
Yeah,
versus what God decides is good. And we take action potentially, and that action is not, if it's not in line with what God wants, um, the outcome is always the opposite. It's detrimental.
yeah,
And so in Moses is like, if you think of Moses going to kill the Egyptian, he's saving Israel.
yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's like, I have a desire to save Israel.
Good intentions,
Yeah,
but
it's very good
yeah,
intention. Is
yeah,
that, but his action is like, I didn't tell you to do that.
yeah,
That's not how. That's not how we behave.
yes,
And if you sometimes it's difficult to know what God wants and how we. And Moses is a good example because his drive to act, even though it was good intention, it comes from a place of anger and fear and distrust in God's plan. Like that's actually what it is because he's scared for his people. He's angry, and therefore he doesn't trust that God's going to intervene. So he intervenes,
yeah,
and so a lot of the time in our life we have those responses. It's like we act fear, anxiety, all of those things are very loud noises, and they don't go away. They keep hounding and hounding and hounding, and we would behave. Whereas God's voice
yeah,
comes very still and soft. It comes internally. It doesn't hound. It doesn't. It tells you, and then goes quiet.
yeah,
And so it's a very different place to respond from.
yeah,
And so later on, we hear how God talks to Moses and the difference, and how he comes to him in a very quiet, very
yes.
peaceful way, very distinct, even dealing with his weaknesses, because Moses does talk about, oh, I don't know this, I don't know this, I don't know
I
this, and
can't.
it's kind of, it's
You assume that he might have like a speech impediment, or he's not
yeah,
very
he's
articulate.
not
Yeah,
articulate.
yeah,
He's lost his confidence.
yeah,
He
yeah,
doesn't know that this is
yeah,
him.
yeah,
And God's saying, yeah, that's fine. That's the whole
yeah,
point. I'm going to cover that, and that's how you're going to know.
yeah,
So I don't want you, Moses, for your strength and ability to kill. I want you for your ability to listen.
yes,
And a lot of the time in our life, we have these very loud noises. Those loud noises are generally fear and anxiety and whatever else is going, and they're very loud and persistent. And God doesn't want us to act based on that. He wants us. There's another voice inside
yeah,
that's soft and doesn't persist. Like it's there, but it's not pushing you around. It wants you to respond to it.
yeah.
That's generally where God comes.
Like
And
like silencing yourself so that you can actually hear his voice, so that when you act, it's not your own will, but
yeah.
it's God's will.
And you
Yeah.
see, even Saint Anthony, Saint Anthony is a very righteous man by the time he decides to go to the desert. Like it's not he woke up in the morning and became. He's a righteous person. And there's attempts by Saint Anthony to give his money away before the famous story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it seems like he was kind of, acting, and he was being moved and he's acting out of whatever he's acting. And then, but the moment he really hears God's voice, it comes in the liturgy, a couple of
Yes.
words. It comes very peaceful, and
Mm.
God doesn't tell him like anything different to
Mm-hmm.
what he knew. But that voice was the thing that created Saint Anthony,
Yes.
not everything that came before. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's that movement inside us. Some like modern day, we call that intuition or the gut. Uh, in our tradition, it's the Holy Spirit. It's
Yes.
God talking to you in that
Mm-hmm.
stillness. I think that's
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Very nice. So then after that, Moses, so Pharaoh finds out that Moses has killed one of the Egyptians and he wants to kill him. So Moses runs away,
Yeah.
and then he goes to the wilderness or the desert, and he sees the
Yep.
Midianites, and then he encounters some women at the well
Yeah.
from the Midianites, and of them, we would assume that Moses found his wife Zipporah, who's the daughter of the Midianite priest.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the encountering at the well, because that is a very big biblical theme
Yeah.
that we see.
Yeah. And so what we're talking about the well, it seems like there is in the Old Testament, the idea of this love story that happens at a well is repeated. It seems to be very repetitive. So we have Isaac, we have Jacob, we have Moses. They seem to all find their wives at the well.
It's like
It's like
the modern day, like, youth meeting
yeah, it's like
place.
we
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
find our wives there. It's okay.
yeah.
And so you have this idea of going to this well, they meet their wives, and therefore the people of God form. And so Moses also has a very similar idea. He goes, he's at a well. You go to the well for water. It's like you're thirsty, you go to the well. The people there that are serving this particular well, you talk to them, whatever he sees, Sephora, and he says, okay, we like there is some type of connection there, and we decide that we're going to unite at that point. And because of Sephora's unity with Moses, she's actually liberated out of something she didn't know she wasn't. She she needed liberation from. It's like
Yeah.
it's amazing. It's like you went through. This lady went through the Exodus.
Yeah.
She went the Passover. She experienced the prophetic tale of salvation and all of this. She inherited the part. It's like why? Who
She's
are you?
she's essentially Gentile.
She's
Yeah,
Gentile.
yeah,
She's
yeah,
not a
yeah,
It's like actually, you know what? The unity of Sephora to
yeah.
Moses saves her, and it's like our Christian idea is the same. Christ actually has a very similar meeting at the well with the Samaritan woman. Now, Samaritan woman's not a Gentile, but you see the
But
conversation.
she's not the people of
She's
Israel.
not the people of
So
Israel.
wouldn't they have considered her Gentile though?
They consider
Yeah,
her
because
an
I think
outcast.
they like reading. I think they were saying like they don't. What the Samaritans believe is not true. Although they do believe in God, it's not what the people
Yeah,
of Israel would have
it's
believed.
a deviation to the
Deviation.
Jew,
Yeah,
and she even says it because
yeah,
in the conversation between the Samaritan woman and Christ, like, why are you talking to me? I'm
yeah,
a woman.
yeah,
Second, I'm a Samaritan woman.
yeah,
We don't talk to each other. Like we are.
yeah. And
Um,
third, we're at a well. Is this a pickup joint? Like,
yeah, it's
what are
like
you doing?
as well,
Yeah,
and it's at the wrong time of the day, and
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
whole reason. But also, she says to him, she asks him a question about worship.
yeah.
It's like we know that we've been told that the worship is in Jerusalem. It's not us. We're away. And it gives you an indication that they've been cut off from God in some way,
Yeah.
at least traditionally, at least to the human world. The Samaritans are cut off. Christ comes to that lady and he says to her, I am the living water. You're thirsty, but I am what you need. If you drink, eat, if you abide in me, if you unite to me, you'll never thirst ever again. It's the same thing. It's like you'll be saved if you are
Yes.
united. And this Samaritan woman's kind of a resemblance of the church
Yes.
as a whole. It's like, I came from you, you're far. You don't know anything about,
Mm-hmm.
but I came for you. I acquired you. You didn't even know you need salvation.
Yes.
The fact that they're so far from the temple and the fact that they're so far from the sacrifices tells you that it's like the
Yeah.
Samaritans they've given up on the idea of salvation. So I don't need to. And he goes and takes her, and then she goes back to her place, her country, and says she preached. She's left nothing else except to say, "Hey, come into Christ. This is He
Yeah.
told me everything. He's the one.
Yeah.
We need to be joined to Him." It's like the church. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. The church
Yeah.
encounters Christ at the well. We're not intending like we don't even know what we're being saved from.
Mm-hmm.
We're saved, and then all we can do is go and say, "Hey, like this is it." And so Moses kind of prefigures the well story
Yes.
with Christ, and Sephora
Exactly.
prefigures the Samaritan woman, but
And the
also the
church.
church,
Yeah. Exactly.
which is a
Yeah.
fascinating story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then Moses enjoys his new life for a while. He's a shepherd in with the Midianites. He's obviously joined to them. He's married the high priest's daughter of the Midianites. And so at this point is when he sees the burning bush. So Gregory of Nyssa, he talks about the burning bush. And, you know, we see icons in the church of St. Mary with the burning bush as the burning bush. And it's actually is most likely comes from Gregory of Nyssa because he's the one that he talks about it the most. He actually says, "What was prefigured at the time in the flame of the bush was openly manifested in a mystery of the Virgin, as as the bush burns but was not consumed. So here the Virgin gave birth to the light and was not consumed." So
And we have a hymn that we sing
yeah, the kiach,
in the Kiach,
yeah,
which is the same, the burning bush
seen by Moses.
seen by
Yeah,
Moses, and then we
yeah,
bring it back to Saint Mary
yeah,
and Christ. So that is a
yeah,
very strong Orthodox
yeah,
tradition. Um, yeah, it's an amazing story because this is Moses' transformation, like,
exactly.
isn't it? It's like everything changes for Moses at that point. Um, I'll talk like maybe a little bit about what he sees, but you know he's a shepherd, I think, or like a yeah, and he encounters this bush that's on fire, and so you can imagine him like, what's happening? It's like he goes closer, and at that moment he recognizes that this bush is on fire, but it's not burning. There's something about this bush; it's not burning.
It's a bit strange.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's strange. There is something miraculous about it. This bush is bringing light, it's bringing heat, it's bringing energy. It's now something that is interacting with its environment. But we know that fire, the way it interacts, it has to feed off something. So fire only creates heat if it's consuming something. It's got to be consuming something. How does it change energy sources? So the fact that it's not consuming something but generating energy, even though I'm pretty sure Moses doesn't know physics, but
yeah,
what he would have recognized by experience is that this
yeah,
is something unique.
yes,
There is something miraculous about this. It seems like some heavenly energy is now interacting with the earthly
yes,
in a way that no one's going to ever understand, and you can't actually understand what's going on. But there is something heavenly, there's something divine, and it's now interacting with me. I can feel it. I can, and he hears it as well because now there is a voice at some during that story, which is a fascinating story in itself. And this is the transformative moment for
yeah,
Moses. And like Gregory of Nyssa is saying, this is like a symbol of the incarnation. It's like Christ. A lot of people that aren't Christian have a problem with the incarnation. Like if you
yes.
can imagine, it's like, what, God became a man?
How does that work? It doesn't
How
make sense.
despicable is that?
It's
Yeah,
impossible.
it's an
Yeah,
impossibility.
yeah,
And the Christians like, what are you talking about? It's not
yeah,
impossible, because look throughout these stories.
yeah,
It's an indication. It's like this thing that should have consumed anything it came into contact with. It shouldn't, like in the Old Testament, you can't even see God. You can't interact with God the way that we anticipate. Um, has come to this woman,
Mm.
has taken flesh,
Mm.
and now is going to save the world contained in a body. His energy, um, his effect on the world is going to be felt, but the world doesn't
Yeah.
is not consumed by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually enhanced by it, and this is that's why Saint Gregory kind of sees the incarnation straight away. It's like this divine ember is put inside her. It doesn't consume her. She doesn't
Yes.
die. She doesn't. The whole world doesn't collapse on itself. But this energy is changing the world,
Yeah.
and you can't understand it.
Yeah. 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 Also, the importance of actually encounter, like having that encounter, like every Christian should encounter God. And you can see the encounter with God, like Elijah encounters God in a still small voice. And obviously, Moses' encounter is burning bush. And I think everyone needs to have that moment where you touch God and you like it's like it's a like it's really important to sort of
Yeah,
set the path of life.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. There's this, and Moses has many
Yes.
encounters
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
God, and but this is the beginning one.
This is a start.
It's kind of the
Yeah.
start that shapes everything, and
The first
probably
love.
yeah,
Yeah, the first encounter.
it's the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
encounter. It's that encounter
Yeah.
that you'll remember
Yes.
whenever you always go back and
Yeah.
you remember it, and you can see it and
Mm-hmm.
hear it, and feel, even if you don't go through it again
Yeah.
for a long time, it's kind of pushing you and drawing you back
Exactly.
into that encounter. I can imagine the image of the burning bush imprinted in Moses' head in a way that he can't get it
Yeah.
out of his head.
Yeah.
And it's that encounter we have with Christ, and Christ is born in our heart as a child, and then he grows, and at some point he matures. You know, the Bible says he learned and he matured, and it matures, and then there's that moment in Christ where after it says kind of grew and matured, they find him in the temple teaching. It's like at that point when you allow Christ to mature in your life and you protect the vulnerability of the spiritual life, he'll mature. He
Yes.
matures, and then all of a sudden he preaches in the temple of your heart.
Yes.
And that encounter is what Moses is going through. He's matured. He's found Sephora. He's lived the simple life. He's recognized that there's nothing good about him, and that can't save Israel,
Yeah.
and so he retreats.
Yeah.
He's scared. All of these things, and then God comes, and he talks to him, and and then we all have that, and then we have multiple ones after.
Yes.
But it's that one that
Exactly.
changes you.
It's the first one. All right. So obviously God tells him to remove the sandals of his feet, and we'll get to that later. But he also establishes the mission of Moses, the purpose, what he's going to be doing, which is essentially let my people go, let Israel go, my firstborn son, let him go. He needs to come and worship me. They need to leave the place of exile and come to the promised land. So
So in that image, you have the burning bush. You have a voice that starts to interact
yes.
with Moses, and the story, the idea is, hey, you're going to go liberate my people. You're going to go. I want you to go to Pharaoh and tell him, let my people go. That's kind of the. And Moses
message.
knows what he's talking about. Like he's not. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what it's going to take, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then Moses goes to Pharaoh, and he tells him, actually he goes to the people first with his brother, and he tells them, and they're like, yeah, sounds like a good plan. And so then Moses and Aaron, they go to Pharaoh and they talk to him, and Pharaoh's like, no, I'm not,
No.
why would I do that? I'm not going to send off my labor force.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Also, it would be a sign of weakness.
Exactly.
Because it's like,
yeah.
even if they weren't his labor force, it's like, wait a sec. Like, some guy came to me and said, let him go, and I let him go. It's like, what is this? That would be a sign of weakness, definitely.
So, and the thing is, when they speak to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says no, Pharaoh actually increases the work on the people of Israel. He makes it harder for them. And so Gregory of Nyssa, actually, he comments on this, and it's really relevant to our own spiritual lives. So would you like me to read it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He says, When Moses had spoken these excellent words and had offered his hearers freedom and had strengthened their desire for it, the enemy was provoked and increased the suffering of those who hearken to his speech. This is not unlike what happens now to us. For many of those who have accepted the word as a liberator from tyranny and have identified themselves with the gospel are today still threatened by the adversary with onslaughts of temptation. So people say, like, I mean, like older people, when you would speak to them, say, well, if they're baptized when they're older, it's like, when I became a Christian, things got a lot harder, right? Why? This is exactly what happens in the story of the people of Israel. When they sort of say, okay, we're going to be set free, we're going to go worship our God, the enemy comes and he's like, no, your work is going to be even worse than before. It's the same thing in our lives. When you come to pursue God and a godly life, and we want to be with Christ, it gets hard. There's challenges, there's tribulation, there's suffering. And so, yeah, like that's a pattern that we see from their lives to our lives.
Yeah, definitely. If you when you put your mind and your feet and plant them on the path, there's always a challenge. Like it's because St. Paul says we don't fight against flesh and blood. We are fighting against spirits and powers and dominion like this. There is some spiritual warfare going on
Yeah.
that we seem to be
Yeah.
cutting across. And so there is an expectation. You would have to expect that the person that decides and takes on the election and the justification of the work of Christ and accepts that, to be tempted. Like if that was to go away, the whole idea that we were speaking about, which is leaving us here for our refinement,
Yeah.
would be totally meaningless.
Yeah.
And so you have to go through it. And it's like there's some spiritual battle going on. And so Pharaoh is the symbol of that in the story of Moses and Israel. It's like the Messiah, the messenger, comes and says to evil, I'm taking them. And they say, what? No, you're not. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to fight harder to keep them. It's the same. Christ comes and says, okay, thank you, death. I'm going to take, they're my people. I'm taking them away from death. And it's like death loses its marbles and it's kind of pushing and fighting and trying to bring you back to the thing that causes death, which is sin. Because sin leads to death. So it's like temptation and difficulty and whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing about the story of Moses is that even though Pharaoh increases the temptation and difficulty, God increases the grace.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's not like, oh God, I set them on a course and now I'll watch them.
Yeah.
No.
He fights for them now. He takes over.
He takes over the battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, oh, you didn't listen to my messenger. I will take over the battle.
Yeah.
I will fight and like, who's Pharaoh going to fight against God himself? Now you have God fighting for his people. And in our spiritual life, it's the same thing. It's like we're baptized, we're there, we're on the, and even though I have temptation, even though I have difficulty, he's giving me grace. He's restoring me. He's giving me peace. He's giving me comfort. You know the story of Lazarus when Christ goes to raise him from the dead, and he's going to raise, like he knows he's gonna, but he weeps with Martha and Mary. It's like, you are sharing with me the burden. You are sharing with me the difficulty, and it's like, now we have a suffering Messiah that suffers with me. And so even though it's difficult, he gives me reassurance. He gives me peace. He gives me grace. He restores me. And this is the beauty of the story of Moses. And we see that life story, like Christ's life as well. Like if you take, I know the 40 days that he fasts is right after his baptism, and he goes out to be tempted. The beautiful thing about that is that there's a whole temptation story, but it's what happens during and after.
Yes.
It's like the angels are ministering, they're comforting him, they're, all of these things. This is the spiritual life.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a
Yeah.
minute because there's a lot there. So this is a perfect segue to talk about the plagues. So the first plague, Moses turns water into blood, or the water of the Nile into blood, and straight away we can see Christ's first miracle is Cana of
Mm.
Galilee turning water into wine,
Mm.
and there's obviously the strong connection there.
Mm.
Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, it's like there's a couple of things that kind of catch my imagination a little bit. Is that you've got this first plague, and it's directly in response to Pharaoh's kind of saying no. Like the easiest thing for Pharaoh would be to just let his people go. Like
Yeah.
that would be the easy thing. And now God is taking over. Like now, okay, God is here. And so this first plague to me, and this is kind of just in my, is God's first sign to say, I will fight for you. You know, this is because if you think of the miracle itself, he turned water into blood. And it was kind of a shot across the bow to sign to say, I've taken over the fight. It's not Moses' thing anymore. It's not even the people of Israel. I am now fighting. I am here for you. And it's kind of this declaration that God has taken over. God is now here. Our life is no longer up to us alone. He is with us. He is surrounded us. He is going to work his own thing. And so then if you take that in parallel straight to the wedding, the Cana of Galilee, Christ is there to attend a wedding. There's no, like, he's not ready to do his thing, and then there's a catastrophe. It's a local catastrophe. It's not like the Exodus one. There's a local catastrophe, and his mother says, okay, you help them. And even Christ's language is like, my hour hasn't come. Like, it's not there, but the people need you. It's like, there is look here. They need you. They need to be saved. They need to be restored. They need to be made whole. And so Christ decides to do the miracle in the same way as like, yeah, that's right. I'm here. My mission always will start with the first thing to be, I am here for you.
Yes.
I am your people. I am your God. You are my people. I will fight for you. No one will ever come near you. Not even the trivial stuff, like, being upset at a wedding. No, no, no. It's not going to happen. I am here. I am with you. And it's got that same kind of idea that it's the work of God starts with the intent that he is for us. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing. And so there's lots of parallels, but I'll start there and I'll...
Yeah. That's really nice. Also, like we see that I think I think it's Isaiah. There's the prophecies that the Messiah will bring about abundant wine.
Yes.
And so this is a sign that the Messiah is here. He's just made 6 pots of wine. You know, like he's bringing abundant wine with him.
Yeah.
But then also he says, like what you mentioned, he says to Saint Mary, "My hour has not yet come." We see when Moses turns the water into blood. That's the first plague, and it ultimately leads to the 10th plague, which is the death of the firstborn.
Yep.
When he says, "My hour has not yet come," he's saying, like, this is pointing to the death of the firstborn, which is himself. And he said, "My hour has not yet come," you know, but that's the journey that he takes there.
Yeah, and if you take that line and you say, well, God knows that the only thing that's going to free his people
Yes,
is the death of the firstborn.
exactly.
Like that's the actual thing.
Yeah.
So he could have cut to the chase and gone straight to there, but there is a story between God and Pharaoh as well. So when Christ is saying, "My hour hasn't come," he knows that the actual war is won on the cross.
On the cross, exactly.
Like that's the actual thing that's going to, but that doesn't mean there is not a story between him and evil.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like this. It's really interesting because if you take of the life of Christ, he lives, like, I don't know, 33 years, really 3 years in ministry that we know of. Those 3 years, it's like, what has he achieved in those 3 years? Because by the time the cross comes, it's like everyone's scattered. No one remembers anything he said. No one, like, it's not about the establishing of anything, if you think about it. These 3 years, he's doing two things. One is establishing his church, and he's telling the evil, he's telling death, and he's telling sin, there is a story between me and you.
Yes.
We are dealing with it. And everything Christ is doing, he's battling the Pharisees, he's battling the Sadducees, he's battling the money changers in the temple, he's battling people's misinterpretation of the law, their hatred, their.
Sin.
So he's
Yeah.
actually battling this like God battles Pharaoh in those
Exactly.
plagues. It's the cross
Yeah.
that I'm coming. Yeah, I'm getting there, but there is a story between
Yes.
me and you. I've taken on the fight, and it's the same with this story.
Exactly.
So starts the message is, I am your God, you are my people. I'm here. Just
Yes.
get behind me. I've got this. There's nothing to fear anymore. If he rages harder, I am your God. Don't worry, I'm here. And so even in our life, when temptation starts and it's difficult, it's like, be patient. Know that God is there. He's actually in front. He's got your hand.
Yes.
He's carrying you. He's walking with you. He's lifting you up. He's our God.
Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah.
The Battle of the Plagues, it reminds me of, we did an episode last week with Father Michael and Father Anthony on Moses, when he's in the desert, he's fighting the temptation of his former sins, and then Saint Isidore takes him outside and he says, look at those on the east, and they're all the angels, and then look at those on the west, and they're all the demons. And he says, those who are with us are stronger than those who are against us. And that's where the battle is, and that's what the battle of the plagues is.
Yep.
God fighting against that sin for us. All we need to
Yep.
do is just focus on
And
him.
at that
Yeah.
point, Moses is not doing
Yeah.
anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like, Moses did some party tricks
He's
at the
just his
start with
hand, his staff. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind of, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The beauty of us making ourselves the children of God
Yes.
is a recognition that I've got nothing.
Yes.
I can't do anything. You need to fight for me, and that is an important part of the Christian life. And even David says, "You don't desire sacrifices and all these things. You desire a broken heart."
Yeah.
That broken heart is me. There's a recognition that I got nothing.
Exactly.
I can't do this anymore. You got to do it, and I know you're there. That recognition is what changes
Exactly.
everything.
Yeah. And so we see there's the Passover, the final plague. We see the death of the firstborn, and that leads to the liberation of the people of Israel. Same as Christ, we see the death of the firstborn, and that leads to the liberation of the church and the world, essentially. So we've actually done an episode on the Passover
Yeah.
last year. And I think that was that was actually my favorite episode. So recommend to go back and watch it. But can we talk about how Christ is, the true Passover lamb and what he does for us? Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to kind of remind, like, the story of the Passover is really important, because what happens is God decides, okay, that's it. I've made my, like, we've had our war with evil, and evil doesn't understand anything, and so we're going to get to the point, and the point now is the salvation of my people. And God decides that the last plague is that all the firstborn males of Egypt will die. And the idea would be that this angel would pass by and just go and kill them while they sleep or whatever. So God says to them, Moses, I need you to do something. I'm going to send this angel. He's going to do that. But what I want you to do is get all the people and tell them they need to get a lamb. They need to find a lamb, a spotless lamb. And he's got a bunch of raw things around it. It's
Purity and
pure,
perfection.
clean. He has no disease, no spots. One of a kind, those kind of things. And you take it. You're going to slaughter it. you're going to offer him as a sacrifice. You're then going to take the blood of the lamb and you're going to put it on the post of your houses. So, the post is, so you got two long vertical posts, and then you've got the horizontal post across that carries the roof,
Yep.
the load. And he said you're going to put on the two vertical pillars and on the lintel. So, and when the angel goes past your house, he'll see the blood on there, and he will pass by and not come in after you. And then he said, and you take that lamb, and you'll consume it with your family that night. And if there's a small family, you can bring another family or whatever, share it. But largely, that lamb has to be fully eaten, and it has to be eaten with certain. He gave them certain things like bitter herbs, and he said you have to gird your waist, you have to be sitting upright. So don't, because in the olden days they would slouch down. He said, no, you want to sit upright because you're ready to go. So he gave them a bunch of rules around the dinner, and everything has to be consumed by the end of it. And so they did that. And then he tells them, and from now on, you'll remember this. You'll do this in remembrance of what I have done for you.
Yeah.
And so that is the Passover. And so the Passover that Christ attends much later is actually just remembering this Passover, that the angel came and saw the blood of the lamb on the door and recognized that these are the people of God, and therefore he spared them. That's the Passover that Christ is having later on. And it's really interesting because it's at that moment that Christ decides to institute the Eucharist. It's during this Passover.
Yeah.
And it was like him saying, okay, we've been doing this for thousands of years. Every year we get together, we remember the salvation and the redemption of God, of his people.
Yeah.
And then he pauses, and then he takes the wine and the bread, and he says, it's actually me. I am the lamb.
Yes.
I'm the one that's going to save you. Here, you eat my body and you drink my blood.
Yeah.
Consume it. We will be united, and nothing will touch you. And it's like in that moment, in that Passover, Christ is making the symbol very clear. It's like, Moses, you had this meal, you did this, you took them out of Egypt. I'm now Christ saying, I am the lamb. I'm the fulfillment.
Yeah.
I will save my people. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Adding to this, I thought this was a very interesting point. Gregory of Nyssa talks about this in the book, because I've noticed, like in kids' Bibles, and sometimes people comment on this, like the fact that the death of the firstborn, it seems almost like an evil act of God. Like it's like these are innocent babies. It's like not like, why would God do something like that? The way that Gregory of Nyssa interprets it and looks at it, he looks at it from a spiritual sense, and he says, when it comes to our lives and when we come to escape from sin, we have to cut off evil and its firstborn or its offspring. Yeah. So you cut off that the evil place and everything that comes with it as well.
Yeah, and so Saint Gregory doesn't comment on it because he doesn't see he doesn't see the dilemma that we see because he's looking at it very spiritually. You know what I mean?
He actually does say a little bit, like, if we just look at it from like a very literal sense, we'll be like, well, that doesn't really make sense. But then he also says, but a preferred way to look at it is like this way.
He kind of looks at it and says, if you just think this is a story of God killing babies, like they'll be
He's
totally
evil.
wasted.
Yeah.
What it is that there's this recognition that there is no worship without sacrifice, and there is no changing paths unless you discard the old path. So there is no way you can go down two paths and have one foot on either path.
Yes.
At some point, you have to make your decision. And so there is a little bit of the death of the firstborn is basically the recognition that for you to be freed, something inside you has to die. You have to die. And that's why in the Passover, he doesn't say the angel knows you. don't worry.
Hmm.
Like, it's not what God says. He says, no, he will pass across your house
Hmm.
ready to kill you.
Hmm.
Like, he's actually going to kill everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something has to die.
Yes.
But what God gives to the Jews, he says, actually, I'm going to redirect
Mm-hmm.
this death because you are moving out, you are making a conscious decision to worship God. So it's not you anymore, kind of God coming and ripping something out so that he can clean you, purify you, move you on and save you. It's now you saying, God, I want to give you something. Here's my life. Take it.
Yeah.
And so in the Christian idea, it's like you have to give your life to God.
Hmm.
In doing that, you lose something. There is
Yeah.
something lost. So an example is like, you grow up and you have a certain lifestyle, then you meet God, you kind of interact, you fall in love with this idea of God. And then you look back at your life and you say, well, Friday nights, I used to really enjoy going out. We used to have drinks and,
Hmm.
whatever you do.
Hmm.
And you say, like, it's not that it's no longer suitable. It's like, it's not the path. And therefore,
Yeah.
if I want to pursue the other path, I have to let it go. There is
Yeah.
something you have to give up. There's something you have to lose. Part of you is lost
Yeah.
in that transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives you his life.
Yes.
This is the story of God and his creation.
Yeah.
Ever since the beginning, we are called to sacrifice. And
It's actually the story of the Samaritan woman, essentially.
it's the
Get rid
same
of
thing.
this water out of this well so that you can have the
I'll
living
give you
water. Yeah.
something new. You
Yeah.
chased a man to make you feel
Yes.
loved.
Yeah.
I am love itself.
Yeah.
Give that desire for love away, and
Yeah.
I'll give you love.
Yeah.
Give the desire of the spring in the afternoon that gives you water, and I'll fill you with water. It's the same thing in the liturgy,
Yeah.
because even in the liturgy, it's really interesting because the thing that we offer in the liturgy is a bit of bread. Okay, that's our offering. But the bread is, in the ancient world, the bread is known as life. So it was the symbol of life. And what you're doing in the liturgy is you go in the morning and everybody gives a little bit of flour and a little bit of water from their life. And we put it together and make it a single bread. And then we put it on the altar. And we're basically saying to God, we offer you our life. Like we have nothing. I don't know what to give you. So I give you my whole life. And Christ takes that life and puts it on the altar and changes it back to his life and gives it back to us. So even in the liturgy is all about us giving something.
Yeah.
You have to lose something, and then you regain something greater.
Yeah. Definitely. So, after this traumatic experience for the Egyptians, Pharaoh decides, okay, you guys can go. He lets the people of Israel go. And so we know the story. They go, and then Pharaoh changes his mind, so he starts to
Yeah.
chase them. And they get to the dilemma where they're at the Red Sea. There's no path. They don't know where to go. And so there we see Moses splits through the Red Sea. And this is obviously a typology of baptism, yeah, so passing through water. And so, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think, the idea is that we are now free from evil. So
Yeah.
the Israelites are free from evil. They've been freed from the evil.
Yeah.
Um, and now they're out running and they're moving, and then they get stuck between this river, the sea, and the Pharaoh changes his mind. He's coming for them. And so God gives them a remedy, let's call it. So there's this, the Red Sea, the parting of the Red Sea seems like a remedy. So the evil comes pursuing me. Hey, wait a sec. I thought
Yeah.
we finished the evil problem, but it's pursuing me. And God gives the people of Israel a remedy, and that remedy is the passing of the sea. And I find it's a wonderful way to look at it, like a remedy, because if that's what baptism is to us, it's our remedy. So Christ comes and he dies on the cross, and he's resurrected. Death has fallen, Hades destroyed. Like, well, That's it, yeah? Like death is finished. You have been, like, what could possibly happen now? But then there is this idea that, okay, but I need to make that remedy available. So the fact that death is finished, the work of Christ has done, is this kind of how do I get you into this place where death is finished?
Yeah.
Um, and so our baptism is that. It's like Christ's work is complete. There's nothing you can add to it. It's like it's finished. This work is complete. The job now is for me to participate in that life. And
Yeah.
the way to do it is I have to die to myself, and then I am born in Him, and then I'm given the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is God in me, God personalized, God working to
Yeah.
unite me to Christ. And so the Red Sea is this idea. It's now the remedy, and this remedy does something cool. It allows them to liberate, to enter into the place where there's freedom, but actually destroys evil in your life. And so this is kind of what
Yeah.
baptism is doing. So before baptism, our life is like sin and our life are intertwined like a bad disease. Our baptism is putting ourselves to death so that we're disjointed from evil and
That's
sin.
right.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sin no longer has a grasp on,
Yeah.
but it's still there.
Yeah.
I'm no longer enslaved to it, but it's still there.
So Gregory of Nyssa, he kind of draws the picture where it's like inside the water, it's like you go in, like the Israelite and the Egyptian, they go into the water, but only the Israelite
Yeah.
emerges. And so it's like when you're baptized, you go in with your old sinful self, but only the new,
Only the new one
renewed
comes
in
out. It's
Christ.
like a
Yeah,
delinking, and
exactly.
sin no longer
Yeah,
has its grasp
yeah,
because sin is being buried.
yeah,
That doesn't mean all the influence of sin is gone,
yes.
because the Jews, they go across and they're still thinking about Egypt.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It's
right.
still there, but it no longer is. They are no longer servants to it. They
Exactly.
actually
Yes.
have a freedom to will
Yeah,
something different.
yeah, yeah,
That's our baptism. But we
yeah.
then have to start the willing process.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to
And that's
keep
the
sin
40
out.
years in the desert. Yeah.
That's the
So
40
we'll
years in
get
the
to that.
desert,
Yeah.
yes.
So then the next thing is, so they're out, and then a few days later, they're like, okay, we're hungry. We want food. And so there we see that God provides manna in the wilderness and the quails as well. Can you talk a little bit about the manna and how that sort of points to the Eucharist as well?
Yeah, so if you imagine they're now out, they're in the desert. They've just seen the biggest miracle that you could possibly see. They feel liberated. They feel in control. They feel, and then all of a sudden they're confronted with this idea that they are not self-sufficient.
And they
The
start
same,
complaining, yeah? Like, you
yeah,
brought us out here to die, you
yeah.
know?
It's like
Yeah.
I've recognized I'm no longer actually in control. I'm not self-sufficient. I can't generate food. I can't generate protection. I can't. And so there's this recognition from them that, wait a sec, I'm not, like, I need God. This God that is showed his power against evil is still the God, like, he's God over me as well. And I need him. And so they turn to him and say, hey, I can't do it myself. It means you brought me here. It's your problem. You need to help this. And so God responds with the manna. And it's wonder, like, manna, I don't know. We don't really know what it is per se. There's a lot of theories.
Yeah.
But it's something heavenly
Like,
that we know that they would wake up in the morning and it would be scattered in the place that they would go, and they would
like a
collect it.
bread or wafer or something.
Yeah, so
Like,
some
yeah.
people, like, I've
Yeah.
heard lots of different explanations about how it would have
Yeah.
arrived and where they would have found
Yeah.
it, how they collect it. Some people say it was like moss,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
over the plants, and it
Yeah.
was just white moss, and you collect it. It's anyway, whatever it is, it's something that they sleep without, and they wake up in the morning and it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They neither harvest the toil seed; they do nothing
Yeah.
for it. It just happens now,
Yeah.
and this manna sustains them. It's like, okay, I was hungry. I had nothing to provide for myself. I did not labor for it, and God provides. And that's the idea of the
Yeah.
manna.
Yeah.
And so Christ has the same thing, except in Christ it's Him. And He says, "I'm your food. I am your drink."
Yeah.
You've done nothing to warrant this. Like you didn't. There's no. You didn't. Prepare the land. You didn't sow. You didn't harvest. You did
Yeah.
nothing. But your food is me, and here is me embodied in bread and
Yeah.
wine, and you eat this and you'll
Yeah.
be satisfied. So you got this kind of symbol between the manna
Yes.
and the Eucharist,
Yeah,
Christ Himself.
definitely. And Gregory of Nyssa actually also comments on that, and he says like the people of Israel, when they were coming to collect the manna, everyone would collect what is enough for him for this
Just
day,
today,
just
yeah.
today. And if they would try to collect like for the next day, it would get
It would
rotten.
spoil,
Yeah, it
yeah.
would spoil. But then he also comments and says like for the young, for the manna was to each person what they needed, whether they needed like greens and vegetables or they needed meat or nutrients, and even for little babies they needed milk. So it's kind of like that's what the Eucharist is for us as well. Like we take it from infancy, and depending on everyone's different stage in life, the Eucharist, like God fills us and He gives us what we need this day, our daily bread,
Yes,
essentially. Yeah,
yes.
and just on this day, our daily bread as well. So the actual word for in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. This book. So we always recommend books on this podcast, unsponsored, by the way. So Jesus and the Jewish Roots of the Eucharist by Brant Pitre. He's actually a Catholic theologian, but this is one of my favorite books, and he talks about the word that is the original Greek word for daily bread. And the original word in Greek is epiosios, which he also mentions that nowhere in the New Testament is this word found twice. We translate it, give us this day our daily bread. But when he tries to translate it, and other people have tried to translate it, so epi is like upper, like you would say like your epiderm, like the upper layer of your skin, for example. So epi is like upper. Osios is like nature, essential. So it's kind of like this super essential or this almost above nature bread. And straight away, if people were listening to Christ talking and they would hear that, they would know, they would probably think, that's the manna. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, and so you got Christ saying, "This is how you pray," and He says,
Yes,
give us the manna,"
yes,
and it'd be to Him and to those who heard it. It's give us the food, give us the thing we need
yes,
today.
exactly.
Um, I've got nothing. I've got nobody to ask. You're
Yeah,
my sustenance.
yes,
Therefore, fill me and sustain me
yeah,
for what I need.
yeah,
It's like a recognition that I don't even know what I need to
yes,
pray for. St.
yeah,
Paul says in Romans, we don't even know what we ask for. We don't know what to ask for. So the Holy Spirit asks for us on our
yes,
behalf. And it's kind of a little bit like that. It's like, give me what I need.
exactly.
I don't know what it is.
Which is
You'll
Christ,
work it out.
the
Yeah.
Eucharist,
And He, like you said,
Yeah,
the Eucharist comes and He gives you Himself. And
yes,
in that is what you need right now.
exactly. Yeah.
Mm.
So the next thing we'll talk about is they say we are thirsty. And so Moses, with his rod, he strikes the rock and then water comes out. And Gregory of Nyssa, he comments on that and he says, Christ is the rock and he was struck on the cross, and he becomes the source of life, the source of water. The water comes from his side. And so any comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing on many reasons. Like, you can imagine the people saying, "Hey, Moses, we're thirsty. Like, we we can't. Like, thirst is a big problem. We're gonna dehydrate. We got nothing. We're thirsty." And the first thing, the first symbol is strike Christ.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, through His wounds,
yeah,
we're satisfied.
yeah,
Through what He has done, He's given us peace. Through
yeah,
what He has done, He's fulfilled us. He's
yeah,
given us purpose. He's regenerated us. He's made us into His own people. And so it's a beautiful image. It's like,
yeah.
you're thirsty? That's why I struck Christ for
That's
you.
right.
That's why I bruised him. That's
Yeah.
why I hurt. And he does it willingly because he knows from there the source of water comes.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
And looking at it from the perspective of the people of Israel, they're like, it's at these points when they're hungry and thirsty is when they start to complain and they're like, why did you take us away from Egypt?
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like in our lives when we're at that point where we're fasting, and we're like, I don't like this food and I'm thirsty and I don't want to, this is too much. And you start to complain. And then it's like, wait, look at Christ, and like that's where you get the sustenance from.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not by bread alone, it's by the word.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And Israel in those years, every time they were have a problem, the first thing they would say is, "Why did you take us out of Egypt?"
Yeah, yeah,
It's like we were comfortable.
yeah,
Yes, we were slaves,
yes,
but I understood the
yeah,
boundary. I felt in control. I knew what to expect. I was comfortable.
yeah,
And that we do that all the time. It's
yeah,
like, in our spiritual life, it's like, why did I do this? I was comfortable before. I was comfortable in my sin. I was comfortable, like um, the discipline is difficult. It's difficult psychologically and emotionally and all of these things. I was comfortable. Like I'll just rather sit in my filth. That would be easier.
yeah,
And it's a beautiful idea that Christ is saying to us that in order to come to Him, you have to be uncomfortable.
yeah, yeah,
It's going to be uncomfortable. And that uncomfort is necessary.
yeah, yeah,
It's
definitely.
necessary.
All right. So then the people of Israel keep moving with Moses, and they get to Mount Sinai, and this is the place where the new covenant is made. That's in Exodus 24. And so Moses, he mediates the old covenant in blood, and he sprinkles the blood on the people, and then the elders, they go and they actually feast with
Yes.
God. Yeah. And so Christ mediates the new covenant, and that's, as you mentioned before, like we see that image in the Last Supper where he's sitting with his disciples and he gives them the new covenant there. So, comments?
Yeah, so you've got this idea, when we're talking about the elders, it's generally
Yeah.
the leaders of the tribes.
Yes.
And there were 12 tribes.
There were 70 elders.
There
Yeah.
were 70
Yeah.
elders, 12 tribes, and those elders have their symbol is you've got the 12 disciples and the 70 apostles, and there's a lot of different
Yeah.
kind of symbolism. And they go up to eat, which is a very strange idea in itself. They go up to eat
Yes.
together and they feast. And there's this idea that they're feasting with God.
It's a heavenly banquet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a heavenly
Yeah.
banquet. They're
Yeah,
feasting
yeah.
with God.
Yeah.
It's the celebration of the establishment of the covenant. And so Christ has a very similar idea. If you think of what Christ does in the Last Supper, he goes up to the upper room. Like
Yes.
the gospel writers, they make a big deal about the upper room.
Yes.
He ascends to the upper room. He goes, he takes his 12, which is essentially a symbol of these tribes and these elders. And they have the Passover, they
Yes.
eat a banquet, a heavenly meal, where they reveal, God is revealed to them at that point. And so you have this amazing thing, and that's why
Yeah.
our church looks at that and
Yeah.
says, well, this is the new covenant. And even Christ uses those words. He says, take, eat, this is my body, blood, this is the new
New
covenant,
covenant. Yeah.
which I shed for you and I make with you.
Yeah.
This is the new covenant.
Yeah.
So you have the old covenant
Yeah.
and you have the new covenant. The old covenant is you stay with God and God will make you a strong nation. And the new one is that unite with Christ and Christ
Yes.
buries your life in his.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful.
It's beautiful. It is. So then Moses, he ascends Sinai, and then he fasts for 40 days on Sinai to receive the law and the commandments. And there is a very strong image and symbolism throughout the whole Bible of 40, the number of 40.
Yes.
So we see Christ fast for 40 days in the wilderness, and then he goes up on a mountain, he's tempted. Elijah fasts for 40 days, and then, he goes and encounters God on Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. Even in the ark, Noah, it's raining for 40 days. It's actually raining now. I don't know if you can hear it, but hopefully it's not impacting the audio. So it's raining for 40 days. And even the fact that the people of Israel, they wander in the desert specifically for 40 years.
Yes.
And maybe a little bit not biblical, but where my mind would think about this is, it's like even a woman has a gestational period of 40 weeks. And then the new life comes after 40 weeks. So that symbol of 40 is everywhere,
Yeah.
biblical in nature, in like life, and it symbolizes that period of tribulation before you come to encounter God. And so, yes, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that this 40 is a symbol of the period before life. It's
Yes.
kind of, it's
Yeah.
got this image in Christ's 40 days
Yeah.
of fasting. It's the 40 days before his his ministry, basically.
Yes.
It's like before he starts
Yeah.
to serve and to gather his church. Moses, 40 days before he receives um, the word of God. And in Moses' time, it's the word of God written by the finger of God. It's
Yeah.
not like he didn't get it dictated to him. So he has a revelation of God. So it's kind of this period, this resembles this period in our life where we wander, we learn, the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit shapes us. And in that period, God is revealed, and
Yeah.
a new life is formed, and it takes hold. It's our sanctification,
Yes.
the process of our sanctification. It's becoming like God,
Yeah.
in the image of God.
Yeah.
And then we kind of see God more.
Yes.
We understand Him. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful kind of idea
Yeah.
for the Christian, is that once you enter into the church, you expect your life to look like
Yeah.
this. It's 40 days wandering. There's confusion,
Yeah.
but in the middle of it, there's this Holy Spirit
Yeah.
acting, moving you towards Christ, transforming your life,
Yeah.
building virtues. All of
Yeah.
those things is happening in 40 days.
And
In the 40
the
days.
beautiful thing is that the church actually gives us Lent every year, the 40 days of fasting every year.
Yes.
That period of, the church gives us a period of tribulation, 40 days every year, so that we can sort of tap into that, and experience it, because there's that beauty there that we can experience God and encounter Him
Yeah, and
at the end of
imagine,
it.
in our
Yeah.
church we say during Lent we have the the hymn that we sing, Jesus Christ fasted for us 40 days and 40 nights. And the church is like saying, when you enter into fast, you actually enter into his fasting.
Yeah.
So it's like he fasted, and through your fasting, you get to enter into his fasting.
Yes.
And you imagine that
Partake of His life.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he fasted for us
Yeah.
so that we may enter into this perfect fasting.
Exactly.
It's like my fasting's a bit chaotic, and it's
Yeah.
not perfect, but I get to enter into his fasting.
Yeah.
And that fasting, that 40-day period that he goes through, produces the life of his ministry, of his service, of his
Exactly.
church. And so I'm renewed by that as well, and I get to partake not only in his fast, but also in the life that he brings.
Yeah.
And that's why we fast it before the
Yeah.
resurrection feast, basically.
And something else that goes with that very well is we see that there is mountain theology. I don't know how to say it otherwise, but in this fasting period, there's always an ascent to the mount. You see Christ goes on the mountain to be tempted. Moses receives he encounters he receives the law. He encounters
On the
God on the
mountain,
mountain.
yes.
But even going back to the burning bush, there's also on Mount Sinai, like to encounter God. Even Elijah goes on the mountain to encounter God. We see, Golgotha is a mountain where Christ is crucified, and the Garden of Eden is also a mountain. I think Ephraim the Syrian,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, he talks about it being on a mountain, and so there is something sacred about ascending the mountain to encounter God, and fasting too, removing that. We see with Moses, in the burning bush, God tells him, remove the sandals of your feet, and they are garments of skin. And actually, Gregory of Nyssa, he comments on this. he says, I'll say it because I think it's all related. I'll just read it. Sandaled feet cannot ascend the height where the light of truth is seen, but the dead and earthly coverings of skin, which was placed around our nature at the beginning when we were found naked because of disobedience to the divine will, must be removed from the feet of the soul. So essentially what he's talking about here is Adam and Eve are in the Garden of Eden, and they are naked. They are, in their full glory. They're in the presence of God, in communion with God. They don't have civilization. They don't have technology. They don't have anything. They're essentially fasting as well. They're vegan, and it's only when they eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they become corruptible and predisposed to death. It's when they're coming out of the garden that God gives them this garment of skin. What is a garment of skin? It's basically they've killed an animal, or he's killed an animal and he's given them leather or clothing to cover, to protect themselves from the thorn in the world.
Yep.
And so when Moses comes to ascend the mountain and God says to him, remove the sandals off your feet, he's telling him, remove that garment of skin, that leather. That's what Gregory of Nyssa is saying. And it's a very similar concept. In order for us to sort of ascend the mountain and encounter God, we need to remove that garment of skin, that thing that symbolizes death. And I think here is where fasting makes sense. Like, why do we stop having animal product? Or it's because it symbolizes death. It only comes to us after the fall that we start to consume the animals.
Yeah.
So there's a connection there between ascending the mountain and, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's all the way through the Old Testament and the New Testament is God is always revealed and found on a mountain.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what story you're going to look at, there's always a mountain, and the mountain is where God is revealed. So, like you said, Moses goes to the mountain to get the law. Abraham ascends a mountain. Isaac ascends a mountain. There's
Yeah.
always mountains here, and it's always God reveals Himself to them
Yeah.
at the kind of the summit.
Yes.
And the idea is like the way I visualize it is you've got to climb a mountain is a very difficult activity. So if you can imagine, a peak, whatever peak you want to imagine how far. Like my peak is 1 kilometer. Lots of people have different peaks, but to climb up, you have to be able to shed stuff. So let's say I'm going to go up a huge mountain. I'm going to take 2 kilograms of me. The more I go up, I have to be able to be using and shedding and getting rid of that, because the further I go, the more difficult. I
It
need
weighs
to
you
be
down.
lighter.
Yeah.
And so I need to be constantly letting go of stuff in order for me to actually make the summit. And some people, you hear stories of the climbers, they had, towards the end, they leave their backpacks
Yeah.
just to get there, and then they come back and get it, because you have to leave something behind. And so I think that's the idea of the summit,
Yeah.
is that to get to that summit, you have to successfully let go of the things that bind you to the bottom.
Yes.
And if you don't, you never get there. And it's the same. You want to know God, you want to see Him, you want to understand Him, you want to experience Him, you have to shed
Yeah.
the stuff that connects you to this world. It's like you have to break the shackles that keep you grounded
Yeah.
on the earth and go up. And that happens progressively. So it's a journey. It's like we say, oh, Moses went up the mountain. We think he climbed it in a day. It's not what we're talking about. A very big journey to get up there. And during that, he's shedding, he's letting go of stuff. If you take even Abraham and Isaac, as he goes to sacrifice his son, Abraham leaves his donkey and his stuff and he leaves it and he ascends. And so the spiritual life is about letting go of the things that bind me to
Yeah.
and so if you take fasting as the tool, it's like if you ask the church, what's a good technique for me to ascend this mountain? The first thing would be fasting and prayer.
Yeah.
It's like fasting and prayer are the tools that teach you how to neglect the stuff that you need and focus on something else. And so
Yeah.
it's like, let go of food and pray more.
Yeah.
Let go of food and give to the poor.
Yeah.
Let go of food and so it's this kind of shedding and receiving,
Yes.
shedding and receiving. And so the fast becomes this idea as a tool to shed so that you can rise. Christ in the Sermon on the Mount
Yeah.
goes to the mountain. So it says it was people and he's at the bottom, and then it says he kind of goes up to the top of the mountain and begins to preach. So the image is that everybody is sitting on the bottom of the mountain. He's up there and he's become like he's God
Yeah.
revealed on the mountain. And then he starts to tell them to do stuff that you can't possibly do unless you let go of something.
Yeah.
So, you know, blessed are the peacemakers. It's like, well, the only way I can be a peacemaker is if I let go of anger.
Yes.
You know, if they slap you on the one cheek, you give them the other. In order for me to do that, I have to let go of my ego and my retribution and my self-importance. You know what I mean? So the message of the Beatitudes is
Yeah.
him telling them, in order to become like me,
Yeah.
you have to let go.
Yeah.
You have to shed. And then when you get there, you kind of, it's Christ revealed.
Yeah.
It's the same with the transfiguration. It's the same with any ascent to the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. So, on that, the topic of the Sermon on the Mount, obviously in the old law would say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Yeah.
But then Christ comes and he says, "You have heard it said of you, but I say to you," and he sort of takes the law from like a very, like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and he sort of says, "Go the extra mile." And so, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? How he changes the law, or he gives like a new law, or he fulfills the law? What is it?
Yeah, so Christ is kind of you kind of in the Christian idea, the law is Christ himself. Is like we are called to be like Christ. So we're not called to follow a law
Yeah.
per se. Like if you think about it, it's like Christ doesn't come and say, "This is the law, you do it," in a legalistic way.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that anymore. In the Old Testament, that's how it was. It was a legalistic system. You kind of just do these things, and that's the law. Christ comes and says, "I'm the new." Like
Yeah.
your job is to become like me.
Be perfect. Yeah, that's it.
Be
Yeah.
perfect as your
my
Father
in heaven is perfect.
I want
Yeah.
you to be like me.
Yes. Yeah.
So then I don't want you to ask me, "What should I do?"
Yeah.
I want you to ask me, "How do I become like you?" And so when he goes to the Sermon on the Mount, he's not giving a prescriptive law like the altar. He's not saying you have to do this, like this is what I want you to do. He's not saying, hey, when someone slaps you, the law is you have to give them. That's
Yeah.
not what he's saying. He's saying in order to reach me, you have to let go of retribution. You have to let go of ego. So he's actually changing the paradigm.
Yeah.
It's not about doing anything. It's about letting go. And the more you empty yourself of all these things, I will fill you.
Yeah.
Until you get full to the point that you are now face to face with God.
Yeah.
We don't have a law like that. We don't, it's like do this, do that. We don't do that. Like Christians, we have a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Our spiritual practice, a very free spiritual practice. But what we do with that freedom is we subject it to Christ.
Yeah.
It's like the only way to get to him. So here, you're free. You do whatever you want. But the only way to come to me is to subject your freedom to my will.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Christian's life.
Yeah.
And so that's the law. And that's why he says, actually, you know what? All of the law and the prophets and everything hang on two things. And they're the same thing. And that is love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he saying? It's like, I'm going to raise you to the intent. And so that's why he's gone to the top of the mountain. And he's not giving you a practice. It's not a spiritual practice. The Sermon on the Mount is not a spiritual practice. It's
Yeah.
it's an ascent.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah,
how do
yeah.
I get to you?
Yeah. Yeah. And so you mentioned the transfiguration and also the fact that Moses sees God face to face.
Yes.
And that's from Exodus 33 and Mark 9, actually. And we can see that there's, again, this mirroring event of Moses coming face to face to God, and his face shines. He has to veil his face, and then you see in the Transfiguration, Moses is there as well, and he's Christ is showing his glory, and so I mean, Moses obviously shines by participation in the work of God, but then Christ shines by his nature and his I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
The Transfiguration is an amazing
Yeah,
story. Like
yeah,
if it's unbelievable. But there is something to be said about Moses being there
yeah,
in the Transfiguration, and
yeah.
it's beautiful because the gospel writers tell us that they were talking. They appear to be talking. Like there's some there's some.
In both accounts, you see like they speak to each other as they were friends. Like you can see it in Mark if you read it, and then you read the Exodus 33 account. They're talking to each other like they're friends,
There's
and
a
it's
yeah, there is
mentioned.
a
Yeah,
discussion
yeah,
going on, and
yeah,
so there's a lot of things going on there. But
yeah,
at that moment, Jesus is declaring that whenever God spoke to Moses, it was me.
yes,
It was the
yes,
Son of God. It
exactly.
was the second person of the
Yeah,
Trinity that spoke to Moses. That's the first thing. He's making a statement there. So if you you kind of parachute yourself back to the burning bush,
yeah,
no wonder Gregory of Nyssa sees it as the incarnation, is because every time I speak to Moses, it's the Son. And so the Transfiguration is that.
yeah,
The Transfiguration brings Moses and Elijah at a point, at a summit, where
yeah,
actually both their stories have this summit. Both of them go to a mountain, and that's where
yeah,
God is revealed to them. One in movement and one in stillness,
yeah,
So it's an amazing idea. And Jesus goes to them, and at that point he's transfigured.
yeah.
So it's an amazing
It
kind
is.
of
Yeah,
idea, that this that God in the Old Testament is actually the same. Every time there is an encounter, it's the revelation of God
yes,
through the Son.
exactly. So we've covered a lot on the life of Moses and Christ, and there's more. This is not by all means like all of it. I mean,
Maybe
obviously
you
there's
can
like
read the book.
yeah, Gregory of Nyssa, Life of Moses. Definitely recommend to read it. Also Exodus, read Exodus, and the rest, all the all the first 5 books of the Bible. But I think there's one last thing that I kind of wanted to sort of like for us to contemplate on. It's that if we overall look at the life and the journey of the people of Israel, the whole thing is we are a microcosm of that. So initially you see they're living in Egypt in the place of sin, and then they encounter the divine, and then they decide to fight against sin, and then only with the death of the firstborn, where they cut off sin, they exit, and then there's the baptism in the water. There's the wandering in the desert for 40 years, which is, again, like, we spoke a little bit about it. It's that period of tribulation, the rest of our lives where we're encountering God, but we're falling, but we're getting up again, we're struggling, we keep going. And it's only after that 40 years, it's when we reach the promised land. And this is the journey of every single one of our lives. Like that's what we do.
Yeah,
All right? That's what we're
yeah,
doing now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a very beautiful parallel of
Yeah.
the spiritual life
Yes.
as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's a good prophetic instruction
Yeah.
on what the spiritual life would look like, is that it has a sequence, it
Yeah.
has a pathway. We have to anticipate it. We're not surprised by it.
Exactly.
There is a anticipation
There's
of
a
it.
pattern that
There's a
we
pattern, yeah.
see in the Bible, in
And it gets
people around us,
repeated
the saints
over
and
and
us.
over and
Yeah.
over and over
Exactly.
again.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change.
Yeah.
It's like that is the pattern. And
Exactly.
you could go do whatever you want. At the end of the day, the pattern is the pattern.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's Lent, and obviously we're sort of doing this to a even more micro level. We've got the 40 days of that fasting, that period of tribulation, and then we've got the Passover, and then the passing over from death to life, obviously in the last week, Passion Week, Pascha, So, I mean, what would be your key takeaways for this period of time?
I think, yeah. So for me, it's understanding that with the fasting period, there's some temptation, there's difficulty, there's you know the the evil one doesn't sit around, and it makes it difficult. And so if we're experiencing some difficulty, some tiredness, some
Yeah.
hunger, some that's to be
Yeah.
anticipated. And then after it, there is seeing God, there's knowing Him,
Yeah.
there's understanding Him better, there's loving Him more,
Yeah.
there's virtue, there's peace, and so we have to take it like that. Is that yes, it's difficult, but it's difficult um,
Yeah.
because of the beauty that comes after.
That's right. We can't ascend to the glory of the resurrection without going through the death and the sorrow of the
Yeah,
cross. Yeah.
yeah,
It's really
agree.
nice. Awesome. Thanks, John,
Thank you
as
very
usual.
much. It's
Thank you.
fun.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you found this episode beneficial, and stay tuned for more episodes to come in the future. Thank you.